If you're looking to lose serious weight, this is the lesson for you. Look, whether you have the last 10 pounds of fat to go and you feel stuck, or maybe you have 50 or 100 pounds of extra fat on your body that you want to melt off without having to feel restricted, without having to count calories or rely on willpower. Fasting, done the right way with these 3 schedules I'm going to share with you that you'll alternate in between these schedules, is how you accomplish this. These methods work so effectively, they increase your metabolic rate, which allows your metabolism to burn more stubborn fat, the fat around your belly, your stomach, that applies pressure to your organs. This is called visceral fat. These methods here are going to pull fat from your organs, from your body, and help you drop weight quickly. Whether you've never practiced fasting before or have been doing it for years, you're going to benefit from this 3 schedule approach. This is the exact information that I outlined in detail in my upcoming book, Metabolic Freedom, which will be released May 13th, 2025. Chapter 8 is titled How to Tap into Stored Body Fat with Fasting. And I go deep into the research and the methods on how to accomplish that. Today I'm going to outline 3 schedules from the book that you could apply right away. And by the way, you could pre-order the book right now and get an entire course on the metabolism for free and exclusive interviews for free as well. This is about a $997 retail value you can get for free by going to metabolicfreedombook.com or scanning the QR code on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. Let's start with the first fasting method. This is simply a 12-hour fasting schedule. You might be already doing this, but let me explain what happens when you don't eat food for 12 hours. When you go into this fast, let's say you're 8 hours in, 10 hours into this fast, 3 key things happen inside of your body. The first key thing, especially as it relates to fat loss, is that every hour you're going to lower the hormone insulin. I've mentioned this several times. Insulin is the only fat storage hormone in your body. Simply put, when insulin is high, you are storing fat. You are signaling to your metabolism, there's an abundance of energy coming in, let's pack it into your adipocytes. In other words, your fat cells. When insulin is low, you start pulling fat from those fat stores. You have energy in the form of body fat, and the only way to tap into that energy is to lower insulin. When you eat food, you raise insulin. When you fast, especially these 12 hours, you're starting to lower the hormone insulin. So you're starting to mobilize fatty acids for fuel. You're starting to use the stored energy as a fuel source, especially around that 12-hour mark, because what happens now is you are completing digestion. It takes about 12 hours to complete digestion, meaning now your gut microbiome is becoming healthier. You're getting essentially a gut microbiome reset. You're allowing your body to eliminate the food you ate, where now you could use resources for healing, which is the third thing that's happening, which is energy diversion. When you're not fasting and you're eating your snacks and meals like the average person does, you're in a fat storage state and you're using a ton of energy, a ton of blood flow and resources for digestion. It takes massive amounts of energy to process a meal. When you're 12 hours into this fast, you're finishing up digestion, all of that energy is now being used for the brain, so you have more mental clarity, for healing the gut, for healing your liver, your heart, your pancreas, wherever the innate intelligence determines that energy needs to go, that's where the energy is diverted. So this simply means 12 hours without food. And I'll go over the schedule. I'm going to give you a 7-day schedule for all 3 of these routines here to maximize your results. But that's the first schedule, 12 hours. And again, you probably already do this, especially if you're practicing intermittent fasting. And if not, this is new to you, and that's the first step. The second thing, the second schedule, is what's called a 36-hour fat burn fast. As you now increase that fasting window from 12 hours all the way until 36 hours, you're going to see a dramatic increase in fat mobilization, meaning every hour in that fast, insulin drops every single hour, and you tap into body fat. And then your body starts using, your metabolism starts using your body fat for energy, even more efficient than the 12-hour fast. And something happens where those fatty acids that are in your body fat are sent to your liver. Your liver picks it up as a fuel source, and now it starts producing what's called ketone bodies. You've heard of the keto diet. It's incredible for weight loss and inflammation when done the right way. But it's important to understand that keto is not a diet. It is a metabolic process. And one of the best ways to get into ketosis and get the benefits of ketones is this 36-hour fast. You're going to see an increase in those ketone bodies. When you have ketones circulating in your bloodstream throughout this 36-hour fast, those ketones do incredible things inside of your body. Number one, it upregulates a master antioxidant inside of your body called glutathione. So it lowers inflammation, lowers oxidative stress. These are two things that block you from fat burning, but also shorten your lifespan. You get an improvement there. And those ketone bodies also signal and communicate to your mitochondria. Your mitochondria, you've learned, are the little battery packs within your cells. They're very important for energy production, longevity, and fat loss. When your mitochondria are healthy, it produces more energy in the form of ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, but just think of ATP as the gasoline of the cells. So when you have this production of ATP from healthy mitochondria, it actually increases your basal metabolic rate, which is your metabolism's ability to burn calories without having to exercise to burn those calories. Meaning you burn more fat and calories sitting on the couch when this process of mitogenesis, which is the creation of new mitochondria, is happening. And ketones create mitogenesis. That's why so many people, when they're in this 36-hour fast, they actually feel incredible. Their brain gets turned on. They feel like, oh my gosh, my brain feels like I'm so mentally clear. I could remember names. I could focus. I could become more productive and less procrastination starts to happen. So that's one thing. The next thing that happens during this 36-hour fast is a process called autophagy and mitophagy becomes activated. You may or may have not heard of autophagy and mitophagy. Let me explain what this means and how this is relevant to fat loss and preventing diseases like cancer, autoimmune, and others out there. We have cells inside of our bodies that become inflamed. They are not working properly. They forgot how to burn fat. They're stuck burning sugar. And you could actually clean out those cells and fix them and teach them to burn fat, teach them to produce energy, which helps you feel good and of course extends your lifespan. Autophagy and mitophagy is that process of cleaning out the junk and fixing those cells. The analogy I always give is a refrigerator. You open up your refrigerator, what do you see? You see groceries that all have an expiration date on them. But what would happen if you let all the groceries inside of your refrigerator expire? But instead of throwing those expired groceries into the trash can, you don't do that. You're like, I'm just gonna shove them towards the back of the fridge. I'm going to open up the drawers and shove them into the drawers. And then you go and buy new fresh groceries and put them in front of the old expired groceries and close that door. You come back the next day and open up that door. What are you gonna see? This is a toxic environment. This is not a healthy environment. Disease will manifest in this environment. Well, guess what? Your body is similar to this refrigerator. The groceries in this analogy are your cells, your mitochondria, proteins. They all have expiration dates on them. And if you're not taking the time to remove these expired groceries, the junk inside of your body, then it leads to cells that are inflamed, which makes you feel inflamed. It's difficult to burn fat, and it could lead to autoimmune disease and certain cancers as well. Autophagy is the process of cleaning out the junk. And when you're in a fast around 16, 17 hours, and especially as you go through this 36 hours, you're really ramping up autophagy. Then we have mitophagy. I mentioned the mitochondria and how essential they are for fat loss and energy and just longevity. You also start to clean up those cells through the process of mitophagy. So all of this is happening during your 36-hour fast. You don't even have to think about it or do anything. You just allow your innate intelligence to get rid of the expired groceries. There are about 60 billion of these expired cells that need to be cleaned out every single day. And you do that with this 36-hour fast. The next thing that happens during your 36-hour fast is your muscle mass is actually not lost, it's preserved. And the reason why is because your body increases a very important fat loss, anti-aging, and muscle building hormone called growth hormone. There's a dramatic increase in growth hormone during this 36-hour fast. And that's the metabolism's way of preserving your muscle mass, because muscle mass is important for fat loss and longevity, and it makes no sense to practice these long fasts when you're going to lose muscle mass. That's not going to happen because your body increases growth hormone. Growth hormone is so important for anti-aging and fat loss that we have celebrities and those that are wealthy who pay thousands of dollars every month to their doctor to have growth hormone injected into them. Now, there are side effects when you get it injected and it's expensive, but you could get that growth hormone surge for free during this 36-hour water fast. And of course, the fat loss will happen hour after hour as insulin continues to drop. You'll get a reboot in your intestinal stem cells. So if you're dealing with acid reflux, bloating, diarrhea, GERD, you really clean that process, or you clean up those symptoms during the 36 hours here. Which then leads us to the third and final schedule here, which is a 48-hour water fast. Obviously, this is longer than 36 hours, so you get more autophagy, more mitophagy. You get more fat loss because your body is going to continue to lower inflammation and insulin, the hormone insulin. But then you get something called apoptosis, which gets rid of senescent cells. Senescent cells are cells that stick around. Let's say your body activated autophagy and mitophagy, and it tried to fix those cells and clean them up, but there's no function. They're just kind of there in suspension. They're called zombie cells, by the way, and they infect other cells and make those cells also senescent, which means they have no function. They just lead to inflammation, disease, and weight gain. Apoptosis is then signaled during this 48-hour fast, which is really cool. Your innate intelligence, this inner physician, sends a signal. Hey, we cannot repair these cells. They are zombie cells. I'm going to tag them for you. And then it sends a signal for apoptosis, which simply means programmed cell death. Your metabolism gets rid of that cell altogether. It zaps it, if you will, but it goes a step further. Once it gets rid of a cell through apoptosis, it needs to replace it. And it does that with a stem cell. Stem cells are all the rage in the anti-aging space, the fat loss space. People get it injected. It costs $20,000, $30,000 sometimes. You get a stem cell surge through the 48 hours because of apoptosis. So once a cell's, let's say it's a liver cell. Let's say you have fatty liver and you have senescent cells in your liver, or maybe it's brain fog and you have senescent cells in your brain. Once that programmed cell death is activated, the apoptosis, then the stem cell is sent to replace it in the liver, in the brain, in the kidney, wherever it is. And now you have a fresh cell that burns fat, that produces energy, that extends your lifespan, and you feel good. And something else happens here where there's a huge decrease in oxidative stress. The number one driver for aging and inflammation and weight gain is too much oxidative stress. During a 48-hour fast, you start to buffer that oxidative stress. So you get an upregulation of antioxidants and amazing different cofactors that are produced during this 48-hour fast. And here's what you're also gonna notice. Your mind is gonna be as sharp as a razor. You're gonna feel like you are unstoppable. This is really important for a busy mom, a busy professional, or somebody who just wants to feel good on top of their game. And that is because there's a surge in brain-derived neurotropic factor. We'll call it BDNF. BDNF is brain fertilizer. It creates neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells because of the autophagy and then the apoptosis and then the new stem cell. BDNF has been studied as an important way to prevent Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, but also for performance, for entrepreneurs and athletes. There's a huge increase in BDNF during this 48-hour fast. So those are the three main ways to practice fasting for fat loss, longevity, and anti-aging. Now, how do you put this into your schedule? How do you apply it so you get amazing results? Now I'm going to get into the 7-day schedule to rotate in between these and do it the right way. The reason why we have 3 schedules here, not just one, is because when you do the same fasting schedule over and over, and I go into detail about this in my book, Metabolic Freedom, when you do the same schedule over and over and over, your metabolism in your body starts to adapt, and then you could plateau. So we want to create something called metabolic confusion, similar to muscle confusion. When you do a workout, you get results. When you do the same workout for months, you stop getting results. Same thing here. When you follow the same schedule, eat the same food, you get results, you keep doing it, you stop getting results. So the reason why we have 3 schedules is to make sure we never hit a homeostasis. We keep the body adapting and guessing, and we continue to get fat loss. So here's the 7-day protocol for you. It's gonna start on a Monday, and you're gonna start the week off with the long fast, the 48-hour water fast. Here's how it's gonna work. Let's say you're finished eating Sunday night, you finish your last bite of food at 6 p.m. You would then fast until Tuesday at 6 p.m. That is a 48-hour water fast. Then you'll go to bed that night. Wednesday morning, and you'll continue this for Thursday and Friday. Wednesday morning, you'll do the 12-hour fast. Well, you'll go from 6 p.m. Tuesday night, you'll break that fast Wednesday at 6 a.m. You'll have another meal at, let's say, noon, another meal at 6 p.m. You have 3 meals on that day. You'll do the same thing on Thursday and Friday. That'll be 12-hour fast, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. When you're done eating Friday around 6 p.m., then you're going to complete the 36-hour water fast, where you'll go until Sunday morning, let's say 6 a.m. or so. You'll break the fast Sunday morning, and then Sunday you'll have lunch and then dinner, and then repeat that whole schedule. All right, I hope that makes sense to you. Let's just recap that real quick in case you missed it. And what I'll do is I'll type it in the notes of the YouTube video and the podcast so you see the structure. Done eating Sunday at 6 p.m., fast until Tuesday at 6 p.m., go to bed, wake up in the morning, eat your first meal at 6 a.m., second meal at 12 p.m., last meal at 6 p.m. Do that 3 days in a row, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You're done eating Friday at 6 p.m., fast until Sunday at 6 a.m., eat lunch and dinner on Sunday, back and forth. That is the routine. It works like magic. Now, I'm sure you have some questions here about what I explained, so I'll get to the common questions asked here on the YouTube channel about this topic. The first question is this: what can I have during my fast? You definitely want to have water and some electrolytes, minerals, sea salt, to keep your minerals up so you feel good and optimized. So water, sea salt, great. Coffee and tea. Tea is safe as well. So you could have tea, herbal tea, as long as it's not sweetened. Coffee might be hit or miss for some people. And I love my coffee, but let me explain. For some people, coffee could raise blood sugar levels. And when you raise your blood sugar levels, to me that breaks a fast, because when glucose goes up, autophagy goes down, and in my book, that's breaking a fast. That's the definition for me of breaking a fast. So it's different for everyone. And what I explain in chapter 12 of Metabolic Freedom is you want to test your blood glucose and your blood ketones during a fast. We use a machine called Keto Mojo. You can get that over at ketocampmachine.com. KetoCamp24 is the coupon code. We'll drop that down below. And what you want to do is test your blood glucose before the coffee. Let's say it's 85 milligrams per deciliters, which is an excellent fasting blood glucose. Have your cup of coffee, and then 45 minutes later, test your blood glucose again. If your blood glucose goes up 5 points or higher, sorry to say, it is breaking your fast. You're losing some of the autophagy. But if your blood glucose stays the same or maybe drops a few points, it doesn't break your fast. It's different for everyone, and that's why you want to test. I would test 3 days in a row on average to see if it breaks your fast. If you don't want to go to that extent, you don't have to. Just have your coffee and tea. You'll still get most of the benefits. I also like looking at blood ketones during a fast along with blood glucose, especially the 36-hour fast in the protocol and the 48-hour fast. And I explained this in detail again in chapter 12 of Metabolic Freedom. But what you want to see are glucose levels dropping hour after hour during a long fast, like 36 hours and 48 hours, and ketones rising. That's showing that your body is adapting really well to the fast. If you don't see that, if you see glucose going up and ketones dropping, you might want to continue with shorter fasts and kind of work your way up. One of the things that I highly recommend, and this is all outlined for you in Metabolic Freedom, is to get fat adapted first before you do any excessive fasting. 12 hours is fine, but 36 hours and 48 hours, you want to do more low-carb keto, get fat adapted first, and I have all those steps outlined for you in Metabolic Freedom. The next question is this: most people say fasting only works for weight loss because you're in a caloric deficit. Is that true? That could not be further from the truth. Look, yes, you're in a caloric deficit during a fast, but I also want you to eat and feast on the days you're not fasting too much. It's not about calories. There's a huge difference here when you cut calories with fasting versus cutting calories and eating small meals throughout the day. When you eat small meals throughout the day and you're cutting calories, you're still raising glucose and insulin, you're still starting the digestive process, and you're not going to get all the benefits I outlined here: mitophagy, autophagy, stem cell reboot, BDNF. But when you cut those calories with fasting, you get all the other benefits. Your body activates what's called counter-regulatory hormones. You raise growth hormone. You raise these other hormones that are really important for fat loss. And you don't get that if you cut calories and eat the frequent meals throughout the day. You only get it during a fast. So fasting doesn't only work because you're in a caloric deficit. It works because of all these amazing physiological changes and shifts that happen during a fast that I outlined in this lesson. The next question is this. I've done shorter fasts, 16 and 18 hours, but I've never gone past that. I'm worried I won't have energy. Can you help? Yeah, I can help. Keep your electrolytes and minerals up if you're extending your fast. Do more low-carb keto during your eating window. Get fat adapted. Measure glucose and ketones during a fast. You could even experiment with exogenous ketones during a fast. And make sure you're not doing excessive exercise during a 36-hour fast or a 48-hour fast. You don't want to use too much energy for exercise. You want to use it for healing during a long fast. Now, during a 12-hour, 16-hour fast, for sure, you could exercise. I have a brand new book called Metabolic Freedom, published with Hay House, being released May 13th, 2025. This book outlines the exact steps to restore your metabolism, heal your hormones, and burn fat. It presents to you the problems to why we see metabolic disease and the exact steps to restore your metabolism to burn serious fat. At the end of the book, there's a 30-day plan for you to lose up to 30 pounds in 30 days. And here's the exciting announcement. You could get this book right now. And when you order it today, you'll get a free Metabolic Freedom mini course where I teach you how the metabolism works, my favorite keto and fasting hacks to burn fat, and exclusive interviews with Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Daniel Pompa, Cynthia Thurlow, Megan Ramos, and others. That is all for free in this mini course. If you go to the QR code on the screen right now, or if you're listening on the podcast, head to metabolicfreedombook.com or click the link at the top of the notes of this video and this podcast. You could go purchase the book right now and get immediate access to this free mini course and exclusive interviews. Click the link down below or go to metabolicfreedombook.com. Next question is this: how often should I follow this fasting schedule routine? Keep following it until you hit your goal weight. Keep doing it week after week. Now, of course, what you eat during your eating window is important. Eat real food, eat low-carb, keto-rich foods. Animal-based is what I do. But I would continue following the schedule until you hit your goals. If you're not getting the results you want, there's some other hidden pieces here, and that's where I would recommend getting Metabolic Freedom. We have a 30-day plan for you to lose up to 30 pounds in 30 days, and it's all mapped out for you. We get you fat adapted, we practice fasting, we rotate the fasting schedule, we focus on protein. We do a lot of cool things there, and you can get the book and pre-order it today and get a free gift of $997 of a free course and interviews over at metabolicfreedombook.com. I hope this is valuable to you. I hope this gets you amazing results. I can't wait to see your comments on the results you get from this. Share this lesson with a friend, and thank you so much for watching and listening to this entire lesson. And if you enjoyed this lesson, if you want to learn more about fat loss, I recently published a video where I had a student lose 40 pounds of fat in 30 days with a specific protocol. Some of it is what you learned today, and there's even much more to it. Here's a photo of John, of what John looked like before he started the protocol.
I weighed approximately 446 pounds in that video.
What?
Ow! Oh, Mother Mia!
44.4 pounds lost in 30 days. I'm gonna go through some of these photos, and then we're gonna go through the